Christina, you are absolutely the inspiration for today's episode. I know.
I
Isn't that
am?
it's exciting. So here's today's episode, Mind Power, the brain's code to freedom from suffering. Now, I know that sounds, probably a little strange, but you helped me pull this all together. And matter of fact, when this came together for me, I realized I can do this for another 2 years and never run out of ideas. It's just incredible. So you sent me this text. And I got to tell you, by the way, everybody, welcome to Mastering Thought, where we
Hi,
talk about the
everybody.
mind, marriage, and mental health and ourselves.
Yeah. And you, when you write comments to us.
Yeah, we love that.
Only in nice ways.
Actually, the original inspiration for this came from a comment a couple weeks ago. Somebody wanted to know more about the limbic system,
Uh-huh.
but I'll tie all that together. So here was the text you sent me, and I
Hmm.
thought, I looked at this and it caused me to think for a long time. So you said, I understand the concept of working with the limbic system and the default mode network, but I wonder if there is a missing piece. And when I pulled this all together, I realized that it was that text that inspired me to go look deeper.
Hmm. Well,
And
that's awesome
so,
because, oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead.
I was just saying that's awesome because, like, for me, I have seen authentic awakening and enlightenment through your exercises. But then, like, there comes a point for me that if something gets too threatening to me, it almost doesn't matter. Like, right now, it doesn't seem to matter what I have known. It's like my limbic system takes over and I can't stop it.
So you raise a really interesting point, and we're going to get into this later in the discussion. But just because you've had an awakening experience doesn't mean you're not going to get hijacked by deeper stuff. And
Hmm.
sometimes people get very disappointed when they have an episode and they realize they went back into their own stuff, and
Yeah.
they get very discouraged because they think they had it and they feel like they lost it, and that's actually
Yeah.
not what's happening.
Well, and when I calm down, I recognize I have it still. So
Right.
I do want to make that point. But yeah, I'm interested to hear what you say because I would like fewer struggles, and I don't know if anyone else would.
So you said you feel like there's something missing. There's a missing piece. And so
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to this diagram, this picture we've used over and over again of the limbic system.
Hmm.
And the question is, what's missing? Actually, there is something missing here, and I didn't realize it until you need glasses.
Well, these are tiny little knobs on some of the
I
limbic
I
system.
I know. So let's look at this: the hypothalamus, the amygdala, the hippocampus, the thalamus, and the basal ganglia. But we're going to talk about a couple of these parts that I have been emphasizing, but then we're going to talk about the missing piece.
Ooh.
Okay.
I hear a little like game show jingle in my head, like, what is missing? And then like write your
It
comment. What do
absolutely.
you think's missing?
Well, I had always focused on the amygdala, and a lot of people know
Hmm.
about the amygdala. It's where we do emotional processing. It's fight or
Hmm.
flight. It enhances memory for emotional events, which, trust me,
Hmm.
is not good.
Hmm.
And it's linked to depression, anxiety, and autism, believe it or not.
Hmm.
But you and I have talked a lot about the amygdala in respect to the limbic system being involved in fight or flight, and how, when we get in conflict, with like a couple, when they fight, when they argue, they have to believe they're being attacked, and fight or flight is
Right.
being activated.
Right.
Now, if you're those of you familiar with the lion and unicorn model of relationships that I have written about, talked about, you'll realize that unicorns like flight and lions like fight. So that's the amygdala, very important part of the limbic system. The other important part is the hippocampus. Now, the hippocampus is a Greek word that means seahorse-shaped. So if you go back to this diagram, you can see the amygdala is that little green thing, and then right next to it is this funny little twisted structure there, and that's the hippocampus.
Mm-hmm.
So what does the hippocampus do? Emotional memories. Okay, wow, emotional memories. Research has shown that chronic stress affects the size and the function of the hippocampus.
Mm.
Now, what does that mean in practical terms? If you have a stressful childhood, for lack of a better way of describing it, your hippocampus becomes inflamed. And as a result, your emotional responses become out of control.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm thinking about how many of my clients will have headaches and it seems like it's coming from the back of their head.
The hippocampus is right behind the ear here, I believe.
Yeah, right behind the temporal bones. Interesting. Okay. Anyway.
So the hippocampus adds context to emotional memories, which again, if you this is great if you're a neuroscientist. It adds context to emotional memory. Trust me, if you're a therapist, this is not good. This is shocking. Now, here's the thing that's really dramatic about this. The hippocampus associates new experience with existing knowledge.
Oh, so that's like the hallucination
Right.
that you discuss sometimes when we're like in a fight with our spouse, that it's really about early childhood learning
That's correct.
or
So,
experiences. Got it. Okay. Okay.
so if I'm having a new experience with somebody, it's going to be linked to existing knowledge of emotional memories. Always. Always. There's no getting around it. You do not, as an adult, you do not have a fresh emotional reaction that is not related to early childhood emotional learning. It's impossible.
Right. Right.
Okay, so that kind of lays the groundwork.
Right.
But then there's something missing from this, and I found what it is. And when I
What
found what it
is
was,
missing?
I realized, holy crap, this is the thing that ties the whole thing together, and that is
Cool.
called the cingulate gyrus, and that's that yellow thing.
Oh.
Yeah. Now notice, and I should have had my little illustrator here so I could circle stuff, but notice how the cingulate gyrus is like a cap over the limbic system.
Yeah.
Just
The
like the
seal.
cerebral cortex above it is a cap over the whole brain. So it's almost like a brain within a
Mm-hmm.
brain.
Mm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so let's take this a couple steps further. So the cingulate gyrus is also called the cingulate cortex. Those terms are used interchangeably,
Mm-hmm.
which means covering. So the
Mm-hmm.
cingulate cortex or cingulate gyrus is the cover basically over the limbic system. Just
Okay.
just like the cerebral cortex, you can see in the diagram there, is the cover over the whole brain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so why is this important? Well, here are the functions, and this just blew me away. And I know for some, I apologize to our listeners if it sounds like we're going into the brain weeds here, you know, but I
Mm.
think this is really important because you've got this thing in your head, inside of your skull, and the more you understand how it works, the easier it is to become the master of it.
Well, and this might help people who know that they have emotional dysregulation, right? And there's a million things that can give you emotional dysregulation, disabilities, personality disorders, there's all kinds of stuff.
Or just normal people have over the top emotional reactions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, what are the functions of the cingulate cortex? Now, this blew me away. Number one, deals with the unpleasantness of pain rather than sensation of pain. So, when
Mm-hmm.
you experience physical or emotional pain, the cingulate gyrus steps in and says, "This sucks."
Yeah.
It's so it doesn't directly experience the pain, it evaluates the pain.
Mm-hmm.
So it's involved in social cognition. So this is the part of you know, when you get in an argument with your spouse, the amygdala tells you you're under attack, and the singular gyrus says because he's an asshole.
Okay.
So really what it does is it processes the cognitive and emotional aspects of pain. So pain
Mm-hmm.
is raw sensory input. The singular gyrus, interpretation and emotional reaction to the pain, that's its job.
Okay.
Okay? So that is what I call suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So the job of the singular gyrus is to convert pain into emotional suffering. Whoa.
That's its job.
Yeah. Now
Hmm.
I just want to take a minute here. I mean, this blew me away when I realized this. Because
Mm-hmm.
I've been saying for years to my clients, life is painful, but suffering is all the thinking we do about the pain. Well, that comes from the cingulate gyrus.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to take a moment and say if you like this approach, if this is interesting to you, we really encourage you to like and subscribe. The channel at this point is growing pretty rapidly, and we've got a large cadre of people that really like this stuff. You can help us promote this, do more of it, spend more time on it. If you will like and subscribe, we really appreciate it. So now, how does this work? So the cingulate gyrus converts pain, whether physical or emotional, into emotional suffering. And the suffering is the evaluation of the pain.
Mm-hmm.
Or another way to say that is rumination. Okay, now let's see where I am at here. I want to make sure we get into this, but so let's define first of all, let's define rumination. So
What, just like incessantly thinking about the same thing without ever coming to like a productive solution for it?
that's right on target. So this is the definition I came up with.
Mm-hmm.
This involves continuously thinking about the same thoughts, often negative or distressing, without resolution. That's exactly what you just said.
Okay.
It's commonly associated with depression and anxiety, where individuals might obsess over past events, mistakes, or potential future problems.
Mm,
And so, you're never present when you're thinking, because when you're thinking, it's always about the remembered past or the imagined future.
right.
And this type of rumination can lead to a cycle of negative thinking that exacerbates mental health issues. Now, I want to say this differently. This rumination is the mental health issue. Doesn't exacerbate it, it is.
Mm-hmm.
And my experience as a therapist is when people stop ruminating, the problem goes away.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. And it's interesting you say some key words because like my brain will always think about do-overs. Even when things aren't like bad, it will always go like, oh, if I could, I like my life, but I don't like that I wasn't efficient in this way. If I could redo it, then I would do
Right,
this instead. So
right,
this is probably also the cingulate cortex, but just not in a fight or flight state. Is that
right.
fair? Okay.
Um, yeah, that is fair.
Right. Okay. And I
And,
and I I know the show's not all about me, and there are plenty of other people out there that might have their own things, but um, the obsess over past events or mistakes, yeah, that's like, that really hits home. So that's all cingulate cortex or cingulate gyrus.
You know, the most dramatic example I can think of rumination is when somebody has a relative or close person in their life die.
Hmm.
They go through a long period of time where they're rehearsing in their head what they could have done differently that would have prevented the death.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that's a large part of what people experience as grief. Is,
Hmm.
you know, I had a client once who discovered his son dead. He lived in the basement. He went down there. There he was dead of an overdose.
Hmm. Mm,
And the poor man
yeah.
spent a long time trying to think what he could have done that day that could have prevented that.
Yeah.
And you know,
Yeah.
that's a natural thing we human beings would do under those circumstances.
Yeah. Also seems like maybe we take responsibility for things that were out of our control rather
Right.
than only thinking about the things that were in our control
That's right.
and our
Okay, so
responsibility. So yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
all right. So next point. Now, you may have already suspected this, but not only is the cingulate gyrus part of the limbic system, it is part of the default mode network.
So then when you go into autopilot, it just goes.
It goes. So, what
Uh-huh.
is the default mode
Hmm.
network? It's thinking about yourself, constructing an internal narrative. It creates a sense of self that is part of the story, thinking about the future and remembering the past, thinking about what others are thinking, mind wandering, in essence, rumination. So, this idea that the cingulate gyrus, now let me make a distinction between a structure and a network. The limbic system is actual physical structures in the brain. You can point to, okay, that's the amygdala, that's the hippocampus, that's the cingulate gyrus. However, the default mode network is a network of widely dispersed areas in the brain that perform these functions I've listed here. But I was
Hmm.
shocked. I was absolutely shocked when I realized there's actually a structure in the brain that performs the bridge between the primitive emotional brain and the default mode network and our sense of self. And I realized this is the key to the whole thing. It's the key to everything.
Mm-hmm. So the cingulate gyrus would give you your sense of self, right? You're saying that?
The
Because it
default
applies
mode
emotional
network,
meaning. The default
the,
mode network gives you your sense of self.
of which the cingulate gyrus is part.
Right. Okay.
So
And
that
that
you
would
know
be and that would be whether it was a good day or bad day. That's all coming from the same stuff because
that's right.
that's what that stuff does. Okay.
So what the cingulate gyrus does is it gives your sense of self the feeling like it's been thrashed. It's where the drama is coming from.
Hmm.
So it creates the drama that the self struggles with and
Hmm.
feels like, I'm not good enough, nobody cares about me,
Hmm.
etc.
Hmm.
Okay, let's
Okay.
move on to the next thing here. So
Oh, I love this picture.
this is the default mode network. We use this in
Cool.
another video, but you can
Hmm.
see the cingulate. I don't have a pointer, but the cingulate gyrus is kind of right there in the middle.
That white stripe.
It's the green stripe that goes from the front to the back. I think passes right through that that
I was
structure.
meaning on the X-ray, but you're saying the green overlay where the activity was happening during the scan.
Right. Look at this. Look at this.
Yeah, I mean it is right over. Yeah, no, you're right. It's
And
right
then
over.
and then yeah, and then look at that. It's
Yeah,
it's reversed, but you can see the path goes right
yeah,
there where that yellow thing was a minute ago.
yeah.
Oh, now
Uh-oh.
let me. Yeah, I've got
I'm
to. Let
blocking
me
our
do
word.
this. Let's see. I got to get you in the back. Send to the
Like
back. There we go.
instinctually, I just want to like move my head to the side, but I know that won't do anything.
So
Oh, let me get
literally
out of your
here,
way.
here are the pieces of the default mode network. The front of the brain, which is called the medial
Okay.
prefrontal, the cingulate gyrus, mainly the posterior part. I think posterior means front, right?
Hmm. Back.
Back, okay. The
Hmm.
side of the brain, which is the angular gyrus area,
Okay.
the middle brain region, which I can't pronounce that, and the lower side of the brain.
I bet it's
So,
precuneus, but somebody's got to know out there.
well,
Let us
la
know.
di frickin' da, precunious.
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm sure you're right. It probably is precunious.
Shoot, what was the
Whatever.
last one? Whatever. Lower side of the brain,
And
inferior parietal. Okay.
yeah,
And your
so
parietals are right here. Oh, you can't
so,
see me. I moved out of the way.
I can see you over here. I'm monitoring.
Yeah.
Now I can see you.
Okay, your parietals are right here,
Yeah,
behind
the
your
two
ear.
lobes.
Well, yeah,
All
more or
right,
less.
back to the scenario here.
Yeah.
So now let's look at the flow of what happens in the brain that puts us in this bad situation.
Funk.
So we have a perceived attack, which starts in the
Hmm.
amygdala. We have emotional memories that are a function of the amygdala and the hippocampus. And then the cingulate gyrus takes those emotional memories and converts them from pain into suffering. And it helps the default mode network create a narrative about what's going on that makes us a victim, or whatever the narrative is.
Right. Right.
Now, I want to just make a statement here. This looks sequential, doesn't it?
Yes.
It's not. It happens all at once.
Oh,
Right.
that's why it feels like it just attacks or strikes and then you're done.
I love the way you said that, because that's exactly the way people describe it. They can't conceive how this emotional reaction that happens so fast they're ever going to control. And you know what the answer to that is? They can't. You can't control it. You cannot do battle against this that way. It's going to get you every time. However,
Hmm.
if you look at emotional memories and narrative, it might give us a clue what we need to do to get out of this mess.
Mm.
Do you have
Yeah,
anything come to
because
mind?
you can do that when you're calm. You can work through that stuff when you're calm. And so if you know
Right.
that needs to go on your checklist, then the next time an open space pops up, then you can start to work on your emotional memories and narrative.
So we've come up with a way you can solve this problem. And
Yeah.
Christina and I have devoted an enormous amount of time to this, and that is called disidentification.
Hmm.
Now, what does that mean? In other words, if you look back at this, you can see that the problem here is the narrative. Okay, what is the narrative? The narrative is the voice in your head that sounds like you talking to you, or what we call a thought. And universally, when I talk to people, I ask them, is your anxiety coming from your thought? Is your emotional reaction to your spouse or your partner coming from your thoughts? Invariably, they will say 100%. So we
Hmm.
know if we can destroy the narrative, the whole system's going to collapse.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we do that through a process of disidentification. What does that mean? It means that, remember, I can't remember where we were. Was it here? Uh, yes, number 3 there, sense of self is part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens when you disidentify with the voice in your head that sounds like that self that's, that me in the head that's talking to you.
Yeah.
And we do that by learning to become the observer by witnessing simple thoughts. And you
Right.
very cleverly said in one of our recent videos, the witnessing means you're observing without judgment.
Well, I think I said that you're not the culprit. You're not the attacker. You're a witness. Is that what you
You're
mean?
just, yeah. So if you go to court and you're a witness, the attorney said, did car A hit car B? And you say yes. And then he doesn't say, well, how did you feel about that? He
Mm-hmm.
just wants to know if you witnessed it.
Mm-hmm.
And so witnessing means observing
Mm-hmm.
the mental activity.
That was a good little addition so that you don't fall into the trap of trying to work with your thoughts after you observe them. Good
That's
job.
right. That's right. See,
Well
people
done.
automatically think that they're going to need to struggle with their thoughts to go free, and that is not true. Disidentification is everything but a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
So how does this work? Oh, I wanted to mention at this point in the presentation that Christina and I are developing an online community. It's going to be called Thought Masters. Well, we will teach, and we'll have other people help us teach the thought watching exercise we're talking about and all these principles we're discussing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be a great place. I'm very excited about it, and I hope you're interested in joining us.
So what we're going to do, I think between now and maybe the first of the year, is we're going to have a founders launch, and we're going to invite interested people to become founders in the online community to help us
Mm-hmm.
kind of get the initial thing off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're interested in becoming a founder in that community, please scan the QR code and let us know that you're interested, and we will respond right away and get you on the list. So that's
Yep.
Thought Masters. That's going to be an online community, and we're looking for the initial group of people that are going to help us launch this thing.
Mm-hmm. And help us tailor it to being awesome for all people.
I like the way you said that because the founders are going to help us do that tailoring. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Mm-hmm.
so let's get back to the exercise. So here's the way you
Thought
do the
watching.
thought watching exercise. So just relax, and you can do this as you're listening, and do this with your eyes open, by the way. I don't want this to be mistaken for meditation or something else. So just relax and let the next thought appear in your mind, and then just simply observe the voice in your head. That is the next thought. It's a comment in your head. We're talking about verbal thought here. We're not talking about pictures or anything else. So simply observe the fact that there is a voice in your head speaking English words. As you do, you'll notice that as you become the observer, the voice instantly goes away. Well, when the voice goes away, the question is, are you the thinker or the observer? And it becomes obvious you're not the thinker, you are the observer. And practice that only on simple thoughts. This is very important. Don't use this exercise to try to solve a problem. Just very simple thoughts, 2 to 4 times a day. Don't turn it into a project, very casual. And in a very short period of time, you'll have the awakening that Christina and I keep talking about here. Only practice on trivial everyday thoughts. This is very important. No analysis, no expectations. Do not talk back to the thought. Don't worry about where the thought come from. Simply observe your own mental activity. So it's an abstract exercise that's not meant to solve a problem as you perceive it.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're doing is we're literally rewiring the front of the brain because that's where the observer lives.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to link a video that we have. It's our most viewed video. It's about Eckhart Tolle's Awakening, where we go through this thought watching exercise in great detail. And I will put an end card at the end of the video, and you can click on that and watch it. We've got way over 4,000 views. And that will take you through this exercise in excruciating detail that will keep you on the edge of your seat.
Or your sheet if you're on your bed.
There you go. You know, I saw somebody on a YouTube short the other day saying that she was a mattress actress. I had never heard that term before.
Is
I
that
didn't know
in
what to make
adult
of that.
entertainment?
I don't know. I didn't pursue the
Oh,
matter.
okay. Mattress actress. It's funny.
Thinking of the sheets made me think of that.
Yeah.
All right. So even after the awakening happens, you have to engage in relentless self-examination to get you out of these emotional reactions.
Okay.
And you were saying, before we started recording, Christina, you were saying this, that you wait until, the episode has passed, and then you just keep asking the question, what am I supposed to be learning from this, or something I'm not seeing?
Yeah.
And you study the narrative that's in your head that creates the emotional reaction, and then constantly ask to see the relationship to childhood memories, because that's what it's rooted in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So if you follow those steps, study the narrative in your head, and ask to see the relationship to childhood memories. And when you ask, don't analyze. Just let the question hang in the air. And as you're fond of saying, let your non-conscious mind answer the question for you.
Mm-hmm.
And, what's interesting is before we started recording, Christina and I were discussing this, and we were talking about a specific issue that
Area.
Christina was working on. And the instant she looked at it, she got the answer. It's like, oh, this is related to such and such. And she could just see it.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't follow the rule of don't analyze because you asked me the question and I was like, and analyzing, and you're like, I don't think that's it. I was like, okay. And then I came up with the real answer. So
Well,
once it
yeah, but
floated up to me.
when you got it, it was an aha experience.
Yeah. 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 So it's like, um, how does the experience you reacted to relate with your early childhood? And
Right.
then I
Boom,
was
there it
able
was.
to get there. Yeah.
Then what you have to do is be relentless. Now that you know that, you've made that connection, you've got to make it every time you have that reaction until you become the master of it in the moment it's happening to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I was listening to a podcast a couple weeks ago too that was saying like if you just walk through your day not expecting yourself to go back into your old patterns, you're going to just go back into your old patterns. You
Right.
you have to like plan ahead how to not go into your old patterns.
Yes.
And that's a really big key, I'm realizing. Like doing the same old thing in the same old place, like what can you switch up? Because
Right.
otherwise you're just going to keep doing the same thing again and again.
So what will happen is your ego will convince you, because you have had the awakening experience, that you got this, but then you have to stay vigilant.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't have to
Mm-hmm.
stay vigilant very long before you've mastered it.
How long do you think?
I think if you see this pattern, 2 or 3 times, you become very familiar with it. And as soon as it starts, you realize, oh, there it is. Okay, I get
Hmm.
it.
That would be cool. I feel like some of the stuff goes so far back, I don't know if it's deeper in the grooves. You know what I mean?
It's just a matter of doing the work until you're confident you know.
Yeah. And maybe like instead of success being that you understand it, success is saved for like the first couple times you actually stop it in its tracks
Right. Yeah,
or
there's a
never
difference.
lose consciousness about it anyway.
There's a difference between intellectually understanding how it works and actually seeing it unfold in front of you as it's happening.
Right. Yeah.
All right, so remember our Thought Masters community. Scan this QR code, and there's a little checkbox for the founders launch, and that will let us know that you're interested. Also, I've got a number of books, and I can't find the. Oh, there they are, right there. The Dance, the Lion and Unicorn is about the lion unicorn model of relationships.
Hmm.
Mastering Thought is about the voice in your head, and Awakening kind of ties it all together.
Hmm.
And Mastering Thought's available as an audiobook right now. So,
Hmm. Hey, I've got a question. Does do any of our upcoming webinars have a spot on that QR code too? Because we have the thought watching webinar next week.
no, I'm gonna send out an email to our list, and there will
Oh,
be
okay.
a video posted here, and there will be a separate QR code or a link to sign up for the webinar. That for those of you
Okay.
who are watching this, 2 months from now, it's going to be over. But if you're watching it in a timely manner, it's going to be this Thursday, the 22nd. Is that Thursday?
November 22nd.
At
That,
12 o'clock Pacific time.
I think Saturday is the 23rd, so I bet it's the 21st.
Oh, maybe it's the 21st. So it's Thursday the 21st at 12 o'clock Pacific
Pacific
time.
Standard Time. Hmm.
And we'll go through the thought watching exercise, and
Hmm.
you'll have a chance to ask questions and interact with other people that are interested in it too.
Who are literally all over the world. It's
Yeah,
so neat. It's really so neat because if this is something that interests you, it can be hard to find people in your community that like this stuff. But that doesn't mean there's not a community available somewhere that you can have like camaraderie and feel like a sense of, having peers in this way.
we have participants that are obviously in the United States and Canada and France and Peru and Dubai
Hmm.
and probably 2 or 3 other countries I can't remember.
Yeah.
So this
And
is
maybe
not
yours
exclusively.
if you join us.
That's right,
Well, definitely
Timbuktu.
yours if you join us. Yeah. Let's get some people from Madagascar. If you have any friends from Madagascar, send them a link to this video. Just kidding.
All right.
Uh, well, thanks for figuring out that and bringing it to us. I mean, it does make so much sense, and it really does offer me, a fresh perspective and motivation to try it.
Well, you can see how the limbic system is organized around survival. But in our modern society, it just kind of gets us in trouble
Hmm.
and causes a lot of mental anguish.
Well, and I wonder if like I were to, let's just say I'm disappointed that when so and so comes over, they break my stuff,
Hmm.
on accident sometimes. And whatever, maybe that reminds me, this is totally fake, by the way, but maybe that reminds me of when my mom snapped my Barbie's head off or whatever. And then I can go into that situation, maybe with saying something like, okay, so and so is coming over today. And I know that the real reason I have a problem with when they break my stuff is because I remember when my
Right,
mom broke my stuff and
right,
when and if they happen to break anything, I'd like to remember that this was an accident, that this isn't my mom, this isn't that situation, and I
perfect.
can respond to this situation, not what my mom did.
Right,
And I wonder if you
absolutely.
just like practice that thought
Yes.
while you're calm and like really ingrain that,
You're
maybe that's the
preconditioning
way.
yourself to understand your pattern and be aware of it coming up in the present moment without letting it overtake you.
Mm. And to me, that sounds like you're preconditioning yourself to heal.
Yeah, it is a healing. There's no question about it.
Yeah, because I mean, nobody's having fun when we fall into these loops.
No.
Nobody.
Nope.
Everyone suffers.
All right. Please comment, like, and subscribe. We'd love to hear from you. And we're at work on another episode next Friday. It's going to be very interesting. Very
Yeah.
excited about it.
Please leave your thoughts in the comments. And if you have any questions, we always love them. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
Bye-bye.